What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And my wonderful friend, all the way from great London town, from the UK, from Britain, from our home country that we escaped from, is my beautiful guest, Yve Bowen. Hello, Yve.
Hello, Gary. Hello, listeners, watchers, viewers.
Well, we're gonna have some fun. If it's okay with you, I'm just gonna read your bio a real quick introduction, and
Sure.
we'll get cooking. Good for you?
Sounds good.
Away we go. Everybody, we have Yve Bowen is a transformational mindset coach and limiting belief specialist. Eve also describes herself as a spiritual life coach. Eve takes you beyond the surface of things and supports you to tap into your intuition and cultivate greater self-love, self-awareness, and self-forgiveness to expand your ideas around what's possible for your life. Eve helps people connect with their true selves and she see themselves without limitations, so they attain goals they didn't think they could reach. And that's awesome. I
Absolutely.
love that. I love that. All right, kiddo. Well, like I mentioned before we get started, I just have my one question. And if I may, Eve, have you ever had a what if you could moment, or if you have a what if you could thought you'd love to share with the gang?
I've had many, many, Gary, but I'll share one.
Okay.
I've always had a what if I could be in a large festival as a headliner with an amazing band singing our songs and finding performance skills I didn't even know I could have. And just seeing the audience vibing out and me feeling on top of the world. That would be wow.
Be amazing, right? Have 100,000
Right.
people just
Yeah.
totally locked into you and sending you massive amounts of love and energy and
Energy.
just
Yeah. And
swooning,
sending
right? I
it
mean,
back.
have you heard of
Mm.
something called Coachella?
Of course. Yes, we've all heard of
So
it.
that's right down the street from my house. It's
Oh,
probably
wow.
10 miles away at the most. And it's amazing the people that come out here and go into the middle of in the desert and just
Yes.
like 120,000 people. It's crazy.
It's insane,
Yeah,
isn't
the
it?
energy is like just off the hook. You don't. They had one out
Sounds
here where they
epic.
called it Desert Trip, right? That was the name. The official name was Desert Trip. But we called it Old Cella. Instead of Coachella, we call it Old
Nice.
because it was Sir Paul McCartney, Neil Young, the Rolling Stones, The Who, Bob Dylan, and some other guy I don't remember. But I mean, it was epic, right? And I'm thinking at the time, Paul McCartney was like 80 or like 79 years old, and he's shredding for like 3 hours.
Wow.
It was, and but the just you wonder why these people keep going, right? I mean, they got plenty of money, but like you can't replace
Mm,
that energy,
that
that
no way.
love, right? It's just so that's a good
You
one.
must have been in heaven, Gary.
Uh, you know, I'm a big, well, all those guys are from your country.
I've
The
noticed.
Who, right? The Rolling Stones, Sir Paul McCartney. We just ripped them
Absolutely.
off from you guys. So, yeah, it was an epic weekend. It was an they've
That-
tried to do another one, but everyone's died. They don't have any more.
Did you behave badly? Were you still rocking out?
Oh, it's just great. They're just rocking out.
Mm.
So I've gone down into the Eve Bowen rabbit hole of all the amazing
Mhm.
things that you do and the healing and the workshops and the books and the writing and things like that. And I just love all the stuff that you do and something
Wow.
about helping empower people is kind of like being a musician. I mean, you're not in concert in front of 100,000 people, but you're giving people the power to feel special, feel different, right?
Mm. Yeah, but I am a singer-songwriter. I am a creator. I don't make music for anything other than pleasure. And as a creative outlet, I couldn't not make music. I couldn't not sing. So it touches me at the deepest level. It really does. But it was never, oh, I need to be a big performer. I used to be in bands, but my highlight of my early youth career was opening for Gil Scott-Heron here in Brighton. It kind of blew my mind because, he was such yeah, just an amazing activist and musician and artist. And there's us, these little group from Brighton,
Wow.
opening for him. Yeah, it blew our minds.
Wow. It's hard to
Mm.
replicate that feeling, you know? It's kind of weird. You
Mm.
wonder, you always say, God, why would these people be doing massive amounts of drugs and alcohol and partying like rock
Mm.
stars when you can't replace the high they get just from being on stage entertaining? Makes you wonder why they chase that. And it's so great that almost all of them are clean now. I mean, all these old
Mm.
guys who made it like they lived, they're like, dude, I lived. I think I'll just stop
Mm.
abusing my body
Like Ronnie
because the
Wood,
high of
yeah.
entertaining, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, though. I think it's the high that can't be replaced. And then you get off the stage and you have this huge come down, and the people around you who don't experience it don't understand it. And you need to get back into that place. And how can I get back into that place? And it's like even comedians, they'll say that they come off the stage on a big high and they go back to their room and it's this big sinking feeling. They can't integrate it, it's too vast. And I think that leaves people a little unsettled, and it will push them down that road of trying to find that high in some other way.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned comedians in that too, because so
Mm.
many comedians, the tears of the clown is a real thing. So
Mm.
many comedians self-deprecating humor and being really funny. Obviously, Robin Williams is one of the ones that come
Yes.
right to your mind. And so many comedians, they give so much joy, they make people laugh so hard, but are really kind of just sad people.
Yeah, they're
It's their
depressed. A
outlet.
lot of depressed, a lot of ADHD, a lot of a lot of conditions. But that's why people who feel things, people who are sensitive, really tend to make great artists because they look at things, they can observe, they're almost outside of the fold, and they come up with observations and insights and new ways of creating things that wow us all. And it's usually inspired through some form of pain, some form of trauma, and they turn that into something beautiful or empowering or healing for others. Because we're all craving that, this connection, and to be able to have people see us and show us ourselves in some form, whether it's writing, comedy, music, whatever form of art it is. They are the healers of our society in many ways, and they're like the wounded healers, I think.
Yeah. In your work, you talk about that, about having a greater self-love,
Mhm.
self-awareness, self-forgiveness. And I think of those three, I mean, the self-love, self-awareness, self-forgiveness. Gosh, I almost think self-forgiveness is so hard. I mean, loving ourselves is impossible. People can't just look in the mirror and go,
Mm.
dude, I love you. I love you. You're
I can.
killing it. You can.
I do it all the time.
Well, yeah, I'm doing it just looking at you, going, God, I love Eve, man. I just love her. But I'm
I
supposed to be
love me.
saying it
I
to
love me
myself.
some me. I really do. And
But
it's because I cultivated those things that
yeah,
I
but
can
because
honestly
you,
say it's real.
yeah, you came from a tougher road. But really, what do
Mm.
you think about why can't we just forgive ourselves? I mean, I beat the crap out of myself. I still
But
beat
that's
myself
where I
up for
stop you,
something I did when I
Gary,
was
and then
four,
say,
right?
stop projecting it out to other people and say, I, Gary, can't forgive myself. It's not that people can't forgive themselves, it's that you won't allow yourself to be, you're not compassionate. You're not seeing anything that you think you can't forgive yourself for as a logical response to whatever was going on in your life and your level of awareness at the time. And when you start to see it as a logical response to whatever was going on at the time, then it's naturally you're able to forgive it. I can see why I did that. I can see why that happened. If I could have done better, I would have done better. I wasn't able to. How can I make amends? And how can I look at myself with a kinder, more compassionate eye?
Wow, that's that's a practice I'll have to put into my mindset, my thought pattern is when those pop up to try to
Yeah.
rationalize with myself, dude, you were two. You only had
Mhm.
so many abilities, right? Or you were this age, or you were that, or when you turned right instead of turned left.
Yeah, but if you physically hurt somebody or mentally hurt somebody or cause distress to another, or you were hurt in turn and turn that in on yourself is self-attack. When you break it down, you would recognize that certain circumstances all led to that point. It wasn't one thing, it was a thousand things. It's a family you were born into. It's the things that they taught you. It's the people that were surrounding you. It's what society was telling you you should be, and maybe you couldn't be. It's what your peers admired, and maybe you didn't fit that mold. It's somebody who abused you. There are logical steps that get a person to do certain things and behave in a certain way. So when you're looking at it, that's what I do with my clients. That's what I did with myself because I had self-loathing. I self-abandoned. I self-sabotaged. I looked at the origin and the root of what was causing these things, and it was trying to be everything that I wasn't in order to fit a society that didn't fit me. And once I understood that, that makes perfect sense.
What brought you personally to that realization for yourself? I mean, at what point did you find this awakening where you go, I've got to change this mindset and this is what I should do, or is that how it came about?
No, it was a very gradual. I had a lot of depression from after my first child was born. I think hormonally it shifted something in me, but
Mm.
obviously I had a quite a challenging childhood. Um, but I wasn't aware of these mechanisms. And so it started with getting into a violent relationship in my teens, getting out of that relationship. And once I got out of this relationship, 7 years later, I plunged into depression, like deep dove. It just came out of nowhere. And it was, in hindsight, um, a trauma response to recognizing everything I'd been through, everything I'd endured, and putting this face on it. I was always tough. I was always angry. I was always appearing confident. None of those things were the real me. So this thing came in to break me right down, to open me up, to crack me open. And because I believe that we're here with a purpose and a path and a journey, that was the opening. And that depression caused me to have to look at in order to heal it. And I remember this had gone on for over a decade of these highs and lows and extreme stress and crying and wanting to off myself every other week, but not doing it. Till one day I was just sitting in my living room on the floor and it was just, I can't do this anymore. If this is going to be my life, if I'm going to be this state of depression, and these heavy weight that came with it. I said, I can't fight it anymore. If this is how it's going to be, I'm just going to be this. And there was no resistance. I really meant it. This is going to be my life, and I'm not going to fight anymore. And in that moment, peace descended that was the most pure, weighty, loving presence. And I heard an inner voice say, are you ready now?
Mm.
Are you ready to do what we've been guiding you to do? Are you ready to live the life we've been telling you to live? Are you ready to allow these emotions space without judging anything about them, without trying to change anything about them, saying you're valued, you're appreciated, you're loved. Thank you for being here. And that was an unfolding of a many-year journey, coming to the place where I am now. Um, but it was, you fall back into it, but I come out of it quicker the next time. You fall back into it, you come out of it quicker the next time. Because each and every time a voice or a feeling or a sensation would remind me you're resisting the emotion, you're judging it, you're trying to push it away, you're trying to push it down, you're trying to numb it. It just wants to be felt. You don't even have to talk to it.
Mm.
So all these things were guiding me along my path, which is to be a clarity bringer, to be an advocate, to connect people with their real selves, the self that they came in with. The blueprint was, I'm perfect as I am. I'm a perfectly formed infant. I haven't had all these things, put on me of what I should be, what I should think, how I should act, how I should be. You were just pure potential. And so connecting people with that pure potential, reminding them that it's life is expansive. The universe is vast. There are billions and billions of grains, not grains, um, grass in your garden, just blades of glass in your garden. That's how vast and ridiculous the universe is. There are thousands and thousands of species of birds, of insects. There are multiple planets and multiverses. And how could you live this teeny tiny little life and not feel that something is off? Something is off because it's all around you. Life is a miracle. It's abundant. It wants you to enjoy. It wants you to expand. It wants you to get excited. It wants you to listen to your passions. It wants you to go out there and try something and be curious and be like a child. And you got locked into your 9 to 5, you went to college, you got married, or you came out, or you did something, you put yourself in your box, you got the job, you bought the house, and you bought a nicer house, you bought a car, and then you bought a nicer car, you raised your children, you had your grandchildren. Oh, I've lived a good life, and then you die. So many live in that robotic state, and something in each and every one of us is saying, hello, there's something else, there's something more. And if we don't listen, we end up living this. And I sound like I'm judging. I'm not judging. I'm saying it's a blueprint that we have been given, and we live that life, and that's absolutely fine. But each and us has something that we are here to experience uniquely ourselves, uniquely who we are, what we have, our genius, our magnificence, our brilliance. And it could be in any arena, you know, big or small. It could be you're brilliant at crocheting. It could be you're uh, the most brilliant classical pianist and everything in between. We've all got something. And if you're not living that and listening to it, your life's always going to feel a little bit hollow. It just is.
Wow. Okay. We've opened up so many things. So we have.
You started it, Gary.
No, I was just trying to talk about rock bands, man. You went down the rabbit hole. You dragged me right down the rabbit hole.
I
And I
took you
loved
with
every
me.
second of it. I brought snacks. Um, so we've got acceptance, feelings, anger, tools,
Mm,
surrender, judgment. I
big
mean,
one, surrender. God.
yeah, and the surrender is so powerful. But like you
Mm,
said, you can surrender, but then it comes back. You can surrender, then it comes back. But you were able
mm.
to somehow give yourself the tools to fight it back down again. Because a lot of people,
Yeah,
it's
it
just
wasn't
like even
fighting though. That's the
addiction,
point.
right?
It wasn't fighting. It was,
Yeah,
you are here to do this. This is
yeah,
what you're here to do and teach other people to do. So I'm literally being guided, even when I don't want to be. I start downloading information. I start feeling weird energies. I start being in woo-woo land going, what the hell is happening here? Because in my book it says, the book of short stories, there's short stories and then there are channeled guidance at the end of every story. And so I started channeling information and it was just teaching me you are judging yourself. You are dishonoring yourself. You are berating yourself. You are beating yourself up. We want you to do the opposite. Life loves you unconditionally, unconditionally. So you're even beating yourself up for being depressed. You're beating yourself up for being sad. You're beating yourself up for being vulnerable. You're beating yourself up for not being able to handle things the way other people handle things. And that is what's causing you to feel that. So when this feeling comes up that says, I can't do this another day, I'm too tired, you're judging it. And it just wants to be felt because in the feeling of it, it releases. If you don't feel it, it stays stuck. And so it's there for such a long time. Whereas if you sat with it for an hour or half an hour or 10 minutes, depending on the intensity, you'd be amazed. It will shift by itself. All of this was coming to me. So the resistance was, I don't want to feel the feeling. I don't want to honor it. And so the thought or the idea or the sensation would come, you're resisting again. How do I know? Because I feel like shit.
It's interesting about the quiet and about
Mm,
the peace because there's so much noise in our
mhm,
lives. And so we don't hear what you heard. You started to
mhm,
hear that. You started to accept it. The noise was getting a little bit less so that, or that message was getting louder, right? One of the other.
mhm,
But when we don't have quiet, when we don't take the time to be alone with ourselves, to allow
mhm,
those messages to come in, then we're just not going to hear them. And we're going to do, like you said, we're just going to be the dash, right? Born
mhm,
on this date, died on this date, dash. That's it,
mhm,
right? And so
mhm,
that quiet time, you have to listen to the intuition. You have to listen to what your soul is telling you
mhm.
sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes we hear it very loudly and we ignore it. Sometimes it'll whack us across the head with a 2x4 to get our attention. Sometimes it'll make us ill. So we have to leave the job
Yes.
and go. And if you don't listen at the whisper, you listen at the bang.
Yes.
It's always talking.
Yeah. And dis-ease, you nailed it with
Mm,
that. Many times our body is so uh, uneasy. There's so much dis-ease within us. We're so
mm,
off of where we're supposed to be that the universe does give us something. It does give us cancer. It does give us something
mm,
to stop you, to make you step back and go, you need to stop and you need to
mhm,
listen because you're in
mhm,
such disease. Your body is so out of whack.
mhm,
And you kind of had that, right? I mean, you kind of just came to that moment where you're like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I just can't.
But my self-abandonment was intense. Not everybody has to go to that place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be as it dramatic as we're painting it. It can literally be you are bored with your job, you know you want to do something else, and you're not listening to that voice. And so every time you go to work, you get put with the manager who's an arsehole. Right. So now you're going to experience some work being
I hate
even more
that guy.
difficult. Right. Yeah. And there's a really nice guy, the really nice manager that you love working with. He's never on the ship. It could be as simple as that. Or it could be you start getting lots of colds and snotty noses. And when you're at work and you go home and at the weekend, you start to feel better again. But as soon as Monday comes around, that kicks in again. And something is trying to whisper to you take some action. It doesn't have to be a dramatic action. It might be just open the classified. Just look.
How much does fear how much does fear have to do with that? We're so fearful of, we know what we know. We're comfortable when we're where we are, no matter how shitty it is, right? But it's like if I tip my toe out a little bit, someone can judge me. I can fail. I won't look good. You know, it's such bullshit, right? That's just so stupid.
Yeah, it's just if you have been hit on the head 5,000 times and the 5,001st time you want to go and do something about it, you're not going to because you've been conditioned to behave and react in a certain way. So if you've been listening to media, watching certain things, surrounded by people who don't follow their dreams, believing that your family says, oh, money's the root of all evil, or people like us don't have money, or whatever. You can't have a job you love. Whatever has been driven into you over and over and over again is at the root of that. And life is asking you to explore that and say, is that true? Or is that just a story? Go
Mm.
and look for examples of people from your background who achieved something. Go and look for examples of people at your age who started again. Go and look for examples of people who married 5 times and the 6th time they're happy. Go and look for examples because there will be,
Yeah.
but you don't have people around you that build you up and lift you up. You've got all these programs and stories and conditionings that you've had inside of you. And in order to step into that new version, you have to be willing to look at them, which requires self-awareness.
Yeah. Because let's face it, people are crabs in a bucket, right? You put two crabs in a bucket,
Mm,
they spend the whole time just pulling each other down, right? One tries to get out, the other one pulls it down. And
mm,
you have to be so careful who you're around. But I love that question. Is
mm.
that true?
Yeah.
Is that true? Is what you're beating yourself up about true? Is the story you're
Mhm,
telling yourself, is it true? Is that memory you
mhm,
have of a massive failure, is it true? Did it really happen that way? Or are
mm,
you just making it worse so you could kick the shit out of yourself more? Right? I mean,
mm.
is
I
it
love the way
true?
you speak because I know that's how you've been speaking to yourself, Gary.
Oh, 100%. No,
There's a little bit going
I'm a
on
complete
there.
open book even. It's all what you see is what you get. I just
Yeah, I love it. I mean, this is good. It's
but you
good
can't.
because your transparency with that is exactly what somebody listening to this episode right now, and they're thinking about something they want to do, and this fear rises up in them that says, I can't possibly do that. I'm saying to them, go do yourself a favor and look for evidence that somebody just like you did it. Go to that feeling in your body and say, think of it. Think of you taking whatever the action is to get to where you want to go and allow that feeling of fear to amplify, to rise. And it will be pointed out. It will be in your gut. It will be in your heart. It will be in your back. It will be in your leg. It will be in some part of your body and it will amplify. And I'm telling you to go to that feeling and spend time with it. Ask it, what is it you're afraid of? When was the first time I felt this? And you allow your intuition to rise just by listening. You don't have to do anything. And your body will give you an image or a memory or a sentence or a word that will trigger a memory in you. So that's where it stems from. It's when I did that great thing and I went to my parents, for example, all excited, and they just ignored me or shut me down. Ah, that's where it stems from. It's nothing to do with my present life. It's to do with that event at that time that made me feel embarrassed, ashamed, rejected, ignored. And I'm carrying that and I'm bringing that to every new thing I want to try. So if you look at it, you go, that is logical. That is not a real fear. It's a fear response based on past history. But I am no longer 2, 5, 7, 10, 15. I am here now. I am autonomous. Let me just take the first step. Now I know what's at the root of that fear. And what I get my clients to do is to really flip that script And we go into that emotion, that feeling, that fear. And what they discover is the body contains immense amounts of wisdom because it's busy holding all your traumas, all your fears, everything you've ever experienced. And we go and we talk to that part of that. And they have a revelation. And I will, once we've got to the root of the limiting belief, then I say, okay, feeling fear in this part of the body, show this person who you really are. When you stop carrying the burden of their fear for them, what do you really? And they are often amazed at what comes up. Some might get, I'm an Amazon. I am amazing. I am limitless. I am fearless. And I've been playing small just to hold this trauma. And so they get a new expanded version of themselves that was always on the inside, but it was pushed down because they weren't willing to look at the emotion or the feeling.
You're really good. I like talking with you. Um, why can't I? Why can't I?
Mm.
I was in love with Is That True? But now I'm really in love
Mm.
with Why Can't I? Because I'm a
Yes.
biography junkie. I love reading biographies, and a lot of them what I read about is, rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches, hopefully
Mm.
ended up on the top, right? Because everyone goes through challenges. I don't care who you are. There isn't, Elon Musk lost everything just a few years ago, and now he's the
Mm.
richest man in the
Mm.
world. I mean, nobody gets out of here unscathed or alive, period, right?
Mm.
And you said something else about being small. Have you read Nelson Mandela's inauguration speech?
Autobiography. Oh, have I read it? No, but I remember when you did it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's just
Mm.
about your playing small doesn't serve the
Mm,
world.
mm,
That's what it's
mm.
all
Your
about. You're
biggest
playing.
fear is not that you're a failure. Your biggest fear is that you're more powerful than you could imagine, to
Exactly.
paraphrase. Yeah.
God has a plan for you, and you're playing
Mm,
small. Our biggest fear isn't that we're spectacular. Our biggest fear is that we're
mm,
exactly. And I have it
mm.
up on my mirror, and I think it's beaten to poop. I've had it on my mirror for probably 30 years or more. And I
Yes.
used to have it up in my boys' bathroom. So when they were brushing their teeth, even if they didn't think they were looking at it, they were looking at it. But that's so
Yes.
powerful about stop playing small. Although we
Mm,
are infinitesimal, I mean, we are just a grain of sand that's here for a millisecond. But that doesn't mean
yes.
we have to feel small. That doesn't mean we can't make this tiny bit of time here massive and spectacular and leave a
Mm.
legacy and and be what we're supposed to be, right? No matter
But what
how
about
short a time.
Gary, if you remember that, or I posit the idea that we're all fractal, and so that infinitesimal grain of sand contains divinity and
Yeah,
power.
awesome. Yeah,
That both
awesome.
can be true. You can have the micro, what are we doing in this vast universe on this planet with no other people or beings that are making themselves known to us? Are we really here alone? And it's all too vast and we're just little ants. Or we're here. We are the only ones here. How come we're the only ones here? That's amazing. Look at this
Right?
place.
Think about it. There was 10 million sperm that got shot up
Mm,
there, and I was the chosen one who got put in there in the egg and popped
yes,
out as me. I mean, what are the
yes.
odds of me
What are
making
the
out swimming
odds?
him, right?
So I must be here for a reason. That reason might be just to make your family happy, to wake up every morning and be the best parent you can be. That reason might be to to turn somebody who's not feeling good that day and you smile at them and you turn their day around. It could be so many ways that just you being you, blesses other people.
Yeah. And it shouldn't have to, like you said. I mean, I've had two major life events in the
Mm,
last 2 years that have just shaken my world, my foundation. And so
mm,
it's like, but it shouldn't have to come to that. And like you said, where you just hit the wall, or people who finally go into AA, or people who finally
Mm.
leave their job, leave their spouse, whatever. But it shouldn't really come to that, right? I mean, I love how you said that. We should not need to be kicked in the head, kicked in the nuts, whatever, in order to start searching for that.
Yeah, but it will keep happening. So each time it happened, can you forgive yourself when you didn't listen? Can you honor yourself? Can you have compassion? Can you be kind? Weren't you doing the best you could? Because you
Yeah,
were,
yeah,
but now you're ready. And when you're ready, the person, the opportunity, the situation will appear to allow you, to support you, to hold you. And then the next time you have an idea, now you don't have to wait till the 2x4 comes. You start to listen because now you've learned the lesson. And if you don't learn it immediately, maybe, and that's what I found with people generally, but with the people I work with and with myself, um, if you have a mistake, like you always go into toxic relationships. And so the first one you stayed in for 5 years, and the second one you stayed in for 3 years, and the third one you stayed in for 1 year, and then a new person comes in and you stay in it for 3 months. You go, I'm done with this shit. I've learned my lesson now. Thank you.
I'm sensing a pattern and I see
I'm
it
sensing a
sooner
pattern in
because
myself,
I'm
and
getting
I know where
stronger,
this is
right?
going.
I'm
I'm doing it
listening.
quicker each time, so let
And that
me appreciate myself for doing that.
and that could be with anything, right? It could be with people who just
Yes.
realize, hey, I'm drinking too much, or I'm doing this,
Mm,
or I'm doing that, or I'm doing these
yes,
self harmful habits that
absolutely.
I'm starting to recognize sooner and sooner and sooner because everything's patterns, right? The whole universe is
Everything's a
patterns.
pattern.
And so if we
Mm,
can start to recognize those, acknowledge them, and be kind to ourselves about the fact, not
mm.
that you did it again, but well done for recognizing it and
Thank
making
you.
the shift.
Every win. Absolutely. And especially when it comes to things that society deems awful. Society judges people who are addicted to substances, who are homeless and can't get off. And you are carrying that judgment inside of you.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful insights I've been given is everything we do is systemic. So it's the system living inside of you that is judging you, that you have absorbed. If you
Yeah.
didn't listen to what society deemed right or wrong, and you were truly allowing yourself to be loved unconditionally by life, by God, by the universe, by intelligence, whatever your thing is that connects you with yourself, and you will feel and hear and sense no judgment from that. But the judgment is coming from a system that tells us we need to be a certain kind of person, live a certain kind of way, and if you don't, you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you. So we have lots of people, for example, in prison, because whatever happened to them cause them to act out in a violent way, cause them to act out in an inappropriate fashion, cause them to lash out at other people, cause them to do something that was against the law. And if they had had support prior to that, if they had had people who encouraged them prior to whatever the final event was that led to them getting locked up and loved them through it and guided them through it, then they wouldn't be there. And then if they get into prison and they're now surrounded by other people who didn't love themselves, other people who didn't take accountability and ownership because they felt ashamed to look at what the things they did with a clear eye. And then they tend to go in and out, because they're now surrounded by people who have that same mindset. I'm not good enough. I'm ashamed. I can't be any different. I need to be in control. I need to be dominant. I need to be the number one woman or man. And they take that energy back out once they get out of prison, and they haven't healed anything, and they tend to go back to whatever it is they did before. And so this cycle continues. But some people in prison do the opposite. They wake up and they start to look and they say, what was it that caused me to be here, really? What was it that caused me to go into that store with that gun and do that thing? What was it that caused me to lash out at my partner? What was it that caused me to steal that from? What was it that was really at the root of that? And for many people, it's I'm not enough. I'm not enough. Just being myself, I'm not enough. I need external validation. I need the thing that society applauds, which is money, status, things. And I don't know how to get it, or I don't know how to do it in a legal way. And I'm trying to boost my self-esteem and my self-confidence by hanging out with the tough guys, by hanging out with people who have those things I say I want. They start to investigate, they start to look, and they start to listen, and then they become mentors to the people around them. You know, you hear stories, so many where somebody's turned into a mentor, and prisoners now come to them and talk to them, and
Yeah.
and this person holds them accountable. Hey, I've been where you are, so you can't pull the bullshit with me.
I've walked a mile in your moccasins. I know what you're through.
Absolutely.
And you know where you see that a lot, and it's so tragic, is sexually abused people who are abused by
Oh
a
my
father
goodness.
or an uncle or
Oh,
a
so
mother's
true.
boyfriend, and they're just such innocent victims, right? And for some
Mm,
reason, even if no one knows, and so it's not even a public
mm,
shame of alcoholism or going to prison or something that's exposed, right? But they
mm.
carry this burden
That's
because,
right.
like you said, they just don't think that they're good enough. For some reason, they blame themselves, like as if a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old
Absolutely.
could
They turn it
be
in on
responsible.
themselves. Because if you don't turn it in on yourself, it doesn't make sense. Why would somebody harm me? Why would somebody hurt me?
It
There
must
must be
be
something
me.
wrong with me.
Yeah, yeah,
That's where
and
the
that's why
mind goes.
yourself. That's why you're bringing those three out that I love so much. You know, the
Mm,
self-love, the self-acceptance. I mean, you know, when you could, when you find people or however find you, and you start working with them.
mm,
That's just gotta be such an emotional breakthrough when they can actually sit there. I'm gonna cry right now. I'm gonna cry right now. When you actually sit
mm,
there with someone, right, and they see it. I didn't
mm.
do anything wrong. You know, I
No.
didn't. I didn't do anything wrong. I can start to let that go and love myself and forgive myself for
Yes.
putting myself through this for all these years.
Mm. Yeah, and what I don't tend to work with, that can come up in a session.
Hmm.
I don't tend to work with people with that type of trauma, but it can come up in a session, some form of that. And what I find is they are resistant initially to the giving up of the burden of shame.
Hmm.
It's so familiar that we have to go somewhere lighter before we go there. We have to go to one up, something that they can look at, that they are willing to feel forgiveness for. But once they get the principle of can you forgive the part of you that has internalized this experience for this amount of time and be kind and give it compassion? Can we speak to it? Can I talk to it? Where is it? And I would talk and I would say, I love you.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Very much like the Ho'oponopono Hawaiian healing methodology.
Hmm.
Thank you. I would use different language, but it's taught this part of you with absolute unconditional love.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what happens is an emotional release comes. There is a forgiveness of not recognizing that it was nothing to do with you. Can you forgive yourself for that?
You know, you brought something up just there that reminds me of people who have gone through the loss of a child or a spouse or
Mm,
someone, and they just have this deep grief, right? But
mm.
what they've done is, and it's not a blame thing. It's just what I've seen a lot is that they're not looking through for a way through, but it's
Mm.
almost become a badge, or it's almost become this is what I am. I'm in
This
grief.
now defines me. Mm.
Yes, exactly. This, and if I give this up, if I let this go, then I'm
Mm.
afraid I won't know what I am or how I am. This is what keeps me sane, right?
Or if I give this up, I am abandoning the child that died.
Yeah.
If I'm not allowing myself to be happy, I can prove just how loved they were, how much I adored them, how valuable they are.
Yes.
Let me hold on to this grief to prove just how much I love my child and how amazing that child was.
That's
That's
a
the root
hundred
of it. It's a
percent.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
None, that's 100%. And so it's not just carrying the grief, but it's carrying the guilt and it's
And the
wearing
honoring.
this.
It's like a
Yeah.
distorted honoring that
Yeah.
keeps somebody trapped. It's like, can you honor the life that came and left? Can you feel the devastation of that? And can you also, alongside, feel the blessing of having had them in your life in the first place? Can you start there? Because if you can hold the two, you eventually evolve to, I don't know the purpose. I don't know why my child was the one that was chosen. I don't know why this happened, but I do know that they were the most amazing blessing in my life. And my devastation is a sign of how much I loved and how much they were loved. Can I honor that? Can I bless that? Can I celebrate that? And if I can, how can I help somebody else going through the same thing that isn't at the stage that I am? How can I turn it into something empowering? Do I start a grief counseling service? Do I become a grief counselor? Do I have a place where parents who are grieving can go and we can sit and celebrate our children and tell stories about our children and tell stories about the things that we love and feel good? Can I empower people through my grief? Can I turn my child's life into a beautiful, amazing, uh, healing tool for other people? And can they see me from wherever they are, honoring them and lifting the world up and turning this deep, dark grief into something that uplifts others? Can I hold these things?
And at the same time, you've healed yourself, right?
Thank
By
you.
spinning, by like you said was so beautiful, just twisting that, make that turn.
Mhm.
I'm no it's not that I'm letting you go or no longer honoring
Mhm.
you or putting you on this pedestal, but I've made you even grander. But at the
Mhm.
same time, now that's letting me release this grief. I've taken this energy from a
Mhm.
negative energy to a positive energy and put that
Mhm.
energy to work. And
Mhm.
even
And
if
now I
I'm
can
not
still
helping,
miss you. I can still wish you were here,
yes,
but it's not a
absolutely.
burden weighing me down for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could tell someone over and over and over, hey, that person you lost does not want you to be in pain. They don't want you to feel
Mhm.
this. They're in,
Mhm.
another place. They don't want you to be this way, but it doesn't sink in. You can't
Yeah,
it's
but
tough to
if you
let that
flip it
go.
and say what you're
Yeah.
actually doing is honoring, that is
Yes.
beautiful. You're
Love it.
honoring their life through your grief. Can you now honor their life through using that grief to empower somebody else?
Yeah. You said you don't work with a lot of abuse survivors and stuff. Who do you find that
Mhm.
you work with? Who's attracted to you, and who seems to come to you for work? And what stage is it? People have hit the bottom and go, "Man, I got to go see Eve," or is it just how do you find folks? How do they come to you?
You know, that is really funny because I tend to attract very, very spiritual people
Mm,
who wouldn't describe themselves necessarily as spiritual. um, People who have deeply embedded patterns that they can't break free from. They tried everything. It's not working. They've done this, they've done that. I work with a lot of people who work with other people and help them heal,
mm,
right? I should know I've got all these qualifications and this training, and why can't I get rid of this? And so the stage they come to me at is when they just, or they feel drawn to me, or they find me somewhere online, or, you know, um, I can't do this anymore. And why? Because that's where I started. I can't do this anymore. And I go, oh, I know that place.
You know, I ask people a lot because I love to talk to folks like you. I mean, you're different and special. Everybody is, but I mean, in this field,
Mm,
and that's one of the things I ask them is, how do you let it go? How can you
mm.
carry so many burdens and not start having issues with yourself? How do you either doubting yourself, did I give wrong advice, or how do you continue to take on these emotions, and how do you protect yourself from that?
You mean me? Me personally?
Yes.
Because I see through the story. I see the story.
You can't
Your
bullshit a
story of
bullshitter. Is the
pain,
old
your
saying.
story of I'm not enough, your story of I'm not good enough, your story of I can't have this. And it's almost a curiosity. Oh, when is it going to click that it's just a belief? It's just a belief. So I'm not taking on their burden at all. I'm helping them come to a recognition that it's a story, it's a pattern, it's a programming, it's a conditioning, it isn't truth.
Yeah. It's like I heard somebody, I can't even remember who said it because I talked to so many people, but he said, you just have to scratch the record. You keep playing the same
Mm.
record over and over for whoever remembers records, playing these records over and over, and you just have to take that needle and scratch this record, change this
Mm.
tune. You cannot continue to listen to this over and over and
Yeah, but
over.
this is what I really want to get across, that I don't work in traumatic environments, that when they're working with me, it is a blessing, it is a joy, it is peaceful, it is loving. Sometimes I'm tough if somebody just wants to cling on to their story, but for the most part, it's going within and connecting with the part of them that's hurting, learning from that, starting to see the patterns, starting to recognize them quicker. I'm always coming from a space of profound love because that's the journey, that's the energy, the path of the open heart. It's profound love, radical forgiveness, radical awareness, conscious intention, and undefendedness, which is a word that was given to me, but essentially it's mindfulness, living in the present. And I come with those elements in me to the session. And so they know they're not being judged. They know that I value them. I have great affection, and something greater than me is present in the session. So it's not me healing them, and they're not having to cry lots of hard tears. Or no, they cry gentle tears that can just turn to laughter in another minute. They cry releasing tears that can be like, but we're joking about something 10 minutes later. I don't do that's why I couldn't be a therapist because I can't listen to a story over and over again. I wouldn't be effective. I just want to show you it's a story. Can we just go to the source? It's not the truth. It's a
I
story
love that.
based on real events. Yes, it came from a real place. Real things happen. Bad things happen. Challenging things happen. That is true, but they are not happening now in this moment. So
Mm.
it is a story that you are holding on to because it's what you've learned to do, and now you come to me because you're ready to release it. So I can work with all kinds of people, but the people that tend to come to me are people who want to cultivate self-awareness, who people who do want to forgive themselves, who are people who do want to start to listen to what their heart's calling is, that they're ready to write that book or go for that career or start that job or meet that person, or they waited too long and now it's time. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that so much. I just love
Yeah.
that. It's just been beyond wonderful. I'm so grateful for your time. So
No, thank you so
I
much,
lied
Gary.
earlier. I lied, just a total liar. I totally lied. I said I had one question, but I actually have two questions. I lied. Um,
I forgive you.
thank you. See, we're already in forgiveness because I confessed.
We
I let it out.
ah,
So
it's been an absolute
my,
pleasure.
my last question
Yes.
is if you've had a thought or a saying or a feeling, or if there's something that it means a lot to you, it's something that means something to you a lot, that you would love to share with everybody before we
Mm,
hasta luego, before we
100%.
toodaloo? Um, what would that thought be? What's a thought that you carry that you'd love to share with us?
Is what my guidance always shares with me. And it's very simple. You are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be enough.
Mm.
That's it.
Short and sweet. I love it, and
Mm.
it's so true. If we could only get ourselves to believe it and say it over and over and just believe it in our soul
Maybe,
and our
maybe,
DNA,
Gary,
right?
you're an amazing being who, through your inability to be kind to yourself, have created this podcast to help others do the thing that you still struggle with. That is a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. And thank you for all you do, Eve. This has been
Oh,
wonderful. So,
absolutely.
Eve Bowen, how do people find you? Where do they go seek you out? How could they look at all the amazing stuff you have? Where can we find Eve?
Well, Eve is all about telling you that you deserve a life you love. So, of course, that's the name of my website. You deserve a life you love.com. Easy enough to remember. Just to introduce yourself to me there when you go to the site, there's the opportunity to download a free report. Is your life being run by your limiting beliefs? That will introduce you to what I share with people. It'll allow you to look at your beliefs, and it's a way for us to stay in contact until you're ready to work with me. Um, and if you find that you're ready to work with me, the first step is usually you'll have a limiting belief buster session with me where you go, oh, I want to continue doing this, and this relationship grows. But if you just want to get to know me without any of that, you can just sign up for a free discovery session and just have a chat about what you're struggling with and see if we vibe, see if we feel a connection and take it from there. But there's lots of free resources on the site for to help you awaken to your magnificence, to your brilliance, to your innate wholeness and purpose in some form or another.
Ah, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And you have a book. Where do we find your book? Is it on the site?
Ah, yes, it's on Amazon. It's First Awakenings. I never promote it. I wrote the book. It's on Amazon. It's called First Awakenings, and it's in my pen name, which is Eve and More, which is the spelling of my name YVE, and then the surname ANMORE. And why is it called Even More? It's a play on words that my guidance gave me that says even more joy, even more love, even more kindness, and it turned it into a name for me.
Ah, I love it. Because we need more of Eve.
Mm.
We need
Oh, it's so
more of you.
sweet.
So it's a perfect name. It's a
It
perfect
is. It
name. Eve, I'm
is.
just so grateful for your time.
Me too. Me
This has been
too.
amazing. It
It
really
has
has.
been.
It really
Yes.
has. I just
I've really
so
enjoyed it.
grateful. So grateful for you. So everybody, you just were blessed with a few moments in time of Eve Bowen. Please look for her and get on that newsletter, find her good stuff. Just reach out to her, and we all need healing, and we definitely all need more love, and it just oozes out of Eve. And I
Thank
just
you
love that.
so much.
All right, my
Love
friend.
you
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you later. Appreciate you. Bye. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.